equivalent of what in New York we used to refer to as the Brooklyn juries, who simply would not convict even guilty black criminals, not innocent black criminals.
Hold up, Ms. Coulter. Please stop. Please stop. If you're going to talk about race, at least know what you're talking about. At least know what you're talking about. Well, tell me how much you know about being black.
Well, this isn't about being black.
Well, but you just said, you just made all these statements about how black people feel. Tell me how you know that. Yeah, you did.
This is not a book about black people. It is a book about white liberals. And I do know, and this is a fact, that once for years, Republican policies on crime and welfare, for example, were called racist. When they finally got implemented, after the O.J. verdict, I might add, by Giuliani in New York, Reagan and Bush judges overall, tens of thousands of black lives were saved. That is a fact. I don't have to know about being black, but I know because
your facts are just a little shaky. I mean, you're saying that because black people, because liberals are what? Because liberals have abandoned black people now because. What? I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't think liberals ever cared about black people. I mean, 5 minutes after the Civil Rights Act of '64, they start calling everything that has nothing to do with black people a civil rights issue. Abortion on demand, homeless rights.
So are you saying that liberals don't care about black people? Then are you saying Republicans embrace us in a warm, fuzzy blanket?
We're not embraced back, but yeah, we try to.
So wait a minute. So the Southern strategy was a white liberal thing? No, it was a Republican thing.
No.
And also, Newt Gingrich calls President Obama the food stamp president. That's not racist?
This chapter.
Wait a second.
Do you really think that was? Do you believe it was racist for Newt to say that the president is a food stamp president?
Well, he wouldn't say that.
If we could just skip, I'm not a big fan of Newt, so we could just skip that for a second and get to the Southern strategy. Yeah. Because I've specifically disproved it. It's an absolutely liberal folklore. Republicans were winning the South since 1920. It was the outer states of the South. It was Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia.
Voting. What are you talking about? We weren't allowed to vote.
Who was trying to get them to vote? Republicans were.
Yeah,
and the first black congressmen were all Republicans. And the first black governor was a Republican.
You're talking about way back
after is so different from
that is definitely what we're told. But in fact, the Democratic segregationists were all liberal Democrats. It is a lie that they were conservative Democrats.
It was a segregationist, darling. You know, basically, everybody was. White people were. It didn't matter whether they were Republicans or not.
Ask you a question.
The first integrationists. Just read chapter 14 in this book. The first Republicans to be elected in the South.
Listen to my grandmother, who was there, who remembers what happened.
Baker, an aggressive integrationist, first Republican elected in Tennessee to the Senate. You have Winthrop Rockefeller, first Republican governor in
But you know, I have a question about today.
Integration.
Let me ask you something about what's going on now. It seems to me
the Southern strategy is a lie.
It seems to me that voter suppression is happening in areas where black people and Hispanics are, and it really is being promoted by the Republicans, not the Democrats. So in my view, and I have a different one from you, it looks as though the Republicans are really going against blacks, not the liberals.
No, and this is a perfect example. Yes, it is, and it's a perfect example. No, I'll explain why. Of liberals using the label of civil rights to promote a liberal cause they support, i.e. voter fraud. In fact, one of the first states in the Union to pass voter ID bills was Rhode Island, 85% Democratic legislature. And who pushed it? A black Democrat in the House, a black Democrat in the Senate. That's a fact.
No, you may have pick out Rhode Island, but there are other states where it's completely Republican-driven.
Why would black Democrats be pushing this? Because they had seen
voter
fraud.
The Hispanic vote to go to Romney.
Can I ask a general question? Every book that you write is very controversial and shocking, and it's usually an opinion that's disparate with everybody else's.
Right.
Do you just write these books and try to find whatever it is that's going to make everybody say,
Well, you don't believe this crap.
The reason, it's an excellent question. The reason I write these books is because I try to correct things that people believe that are just false.
Here's the question for you. This is a question, because I was reading a book.
and you may be the only one that says it, but...
Well, there are a few things. I mean, discovering that we never won the Goldwater states and Republicans didn't win the Dixiecrat states until the Dixiecrats died out.
You keep staying back in the past. You got to come into the present. But this is what I want to say.
That's new to me. The rest of it, other people know.
In reading your book, you know, you keep saying if you would read chapter 14, if you would read, you make such divisive comments and incendiary comments and hateful comments at times. It makes people not want to pick up your book and read it. So
people who agree with her read it.
Yeah, well, people agree with it.
No, I don't think so. You name a hateful comment in here.
You know, when you talk about you stay in the past, that Republican
no,
is
only
back
because
there.
it was brought up. There's only one chapter on the past, and I mean, it's just a fact.
But when you talk about something like voter suppression, which obviously is trying to keep black people and Latinos,
they have never done that. That was a Democrat thing.
But it's in states where they don't even have any.
Stop. Let me just. Can I just say one thing, Dan? No matter what, you sit down here and you've got 5 women going, butter.
Yes.
Whatever it is, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Coulter, good morning.
Good morning.
I think we've all been discussing your book on camera.
Yes, I've heard.
So, good, you should be pleased. So, Whoopi would like to start.
I just have a couple questions, actually. In your book, you devote an entire chapter to single mothers.
Yes.
And what happens to children raised in single-parent homes. You title the chapter, Victim of a Crime, Thank a Single Mother. What is your issue with single mothers? Because I know you don't have any kids. I mean, maybe you have stepkids. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. But, and before you answer, I just want to say, you said that single motherhood is like a farm team for future criminals and social outcasts. 70% of inmates in prisons come from single-parent homes. Hollywood actresses using single motherhood as a way to promote their careers, and it says, you say it's very selfish for a single mother to have a baby without a father. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, well, we now have 30 or 40 years of social science research. I mean, I'm just citing, this is, dressed up numbers crunching. I'm just giving the numbers. 80% of the inmates in prisons were raised by single mothers. About 70% of the runaways of the juvenile delinquents, juvenile murderers, juvenile rapists, raised by single mothers. And the point is, this didn't happen by accident. The illegitimacy rate alone has gone up over 300% since 1970. And as I describe in my book, this was a specific plan by the left, attacking the nuclear family. The most famous example.
Go back to the. I know you want to. I'm sorry. I know you want to do this whole left thing because that's what you do. That's your act.
No,
but
it's what I think is true.
But I do want to know, because a lot of what you've cited in terms of this, just specifically this, is based on sort of not great research, because we've seen this research discounted time and time again. But why would you say Hollywood actresses using single mother? I take offense to that, of course, as you can understand, because having been a single mother, I don't think it was something I used as a tool.
The point is, well, I don't think you've done it in the last few years, and this is, it has become...
Are you talking about in the... I'm sorry, say this again? You talked about you talked about actresses in the last few years.
Right. That's why I say it's the new thing, as opposed to the sex tapes.
Why don't you come down as hard on the fathers who aren't there, rather than the women who actually raised the children?
I'll answer that, because the title is Guilty Liberal Victims and Their Assault on America. The point of the book is, in example after example, of how people play the victim, are exalted in this society, have doors open for them, when in fact they're the ones victimizing others. I've never heard anyone say, unsung heroes, unwed fathers. How does he do it? He has 4 children with 3 different mothers. How did he have the time to do that? You do have, as I describe in that chapter, Hollywood, mainstream media, the New York Times, women's magazines exalting single motherhood, movie after movie about single motherhood, book after book.
Are you married?
Sisters are doing it for themselves.
Are you married? Are you married?
No, but it wouldn't change the difference of the facts I cite.
Do you have kids?
No, and it wouldn't change the difference.
Well, it would if you had children. You know more what you were talking about.
Do you want children? Because I do realize that there are mothers who are divorced, and you don't blame them as much, and there are mothers who are widowed. But there are women who do want children. I'm not talking about the teenagers, the irresponsible and so forth, and need to be loved. We can perhaps, go with it. But there are women who do want children.
Yeah, that's what I write
and
about.
Single mothers.
And how selfish it is. That is precisely what...
And can take care of these children and give them happy homes or adopt these children.
Okay, no, I am not, and nor are the studies.
Racism, all those things.
Absolutely not. You are wrong about that, and that is the interesting...
Kill anybody. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's of course it's not every... The point is you look at it from the other end. When you look at the prison end, and no, it is not true that I'm leaving out race. There is, in fact, I cite a study by the Progressive Policy Institute, a liberal institute, saying that if you take single motherhood out of the equation, the black and white crime rates are exactly the same. So you take everything else out. Single motherhood is not good for children. That is a fact. And it is a fact that it is promoted.
I would like to ask you, because you know, there's some nuggets of truth that you have in stuff that you write, but I don't see any compassion that you have. Do you go out and do you talk to single young girls about trying not to, you know, to use birth control? Are you trying to be part of the solution?
Well, sure,
as opposed to just judging and throwing out stuff?
Look, the more non-judgmental we have been about the mothers, the more real victims have been created.
Can I ask you
millions
something?
and millions per year. I mean, it's not like this is some inevitable number that we must have of children being raised by single mothers every year. It wouldn't have gone up by more than 300% since 1970.
Let's move off that topic because you call it liberal victims. You know, the biggest victim this week is your girlfriend, Sarah Palin. She is whining about everything. The media was wrong.
The media was horrible to her.
By the way, she has a child born out of wedlock.
The media attacked her daughter's unborn child.
That was acting like a victim now. And why is it just liberals who are victims? Give me a break.
No, but the point of the book is not to say that there aren't any victims. Of course there are victims. That's my point.
And victims put together there.
Liberals play the victim while creating real victims. I'm not saying there's no such thing as victim, but can we get back to what you were attacking me for when I wasn't here?
Which is good to have black celebrities. Yeah.
See, now you've never heard my book. Well, no, I just want to respond.
Follow up on what we were saying about you're saying that
I would like to
they identify with their black side, and we had something to say. What did you
think that I was trying to read people's minds? I believe someone said, or that I've had some personal experience with them. To the contrary, as I cite in the book, I am talking about things they have done and said. Barack Obama writes his first book. I think it was his first book, his autobiography, "Dreams from My Father." He identifies with the father who abandoned him. He met one. I read the book.
He praises his mother off with it. Can I just move on? We don't have that much time.
Wait, you guys attack me for it and I can't respond. Halle Berry accepts the Academy Award. Okay, just let me answer.
Barack Obama felt that
Halle Berry accepts
the truth. We are not attacking you.
You
wrote something provocative.
Read aloud like you're reading Mein Kampf, and I just did.
Can I just read a section aloud?
Yes, and read it like you're reading Mein Kampf again.
I don't think I did that.
I think you did. You spat out the words when I wasn't sitting here.
Let me do this. Throughout because I'd like to discuss something current. Throughout John F. Kennedy's presidency and beyond, reporters notoriously hid the fact that JFK was a venereal, disease-ridden sexual profligate and drug addict. The courtier press was too busy manufacturing a nonsense image of Camelot. I read this because I'd love to hear your view on Caroline Kennedy's desire to become the Senate.
Was that yes, that was lovely. You could do the audio book. Well, we don't know that much about her. I mean, it is striking.
Attacking you. I just don't appreciate the way you're talking to her. I mean, nobody is attacking you. You didn't have to talk to her.
I wasn't here. And you're describing the thing from here.
I just think, Go on.
Okay, I think we can move on from tone and get to substance, but he's flashing rap, so...
Well, here's the deal. Since we'll wrap as soon as it's time, but you sort of just did like two great put-downs in one sentence. I want to reiterate. Nobody was putting down or attacking you.
Look, you're claiming that I was basing it on personal experience. I was not basing it on personal experience.
The question, were you?
Halle Berry's Academy Award acceptance speech went on and on about how she was doing it for the blacks. That is identifying with her black father. I'm talking about what they do and say in public.
You can't take it, can you? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. We'll be right back with Anne's book. We're fine. We'll be right back.